Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Eva. If you are new here, welcome. I am a millennial who loves all things makeup, everything from luxury to drugstore to indie, everything in between. If you are not already, please hit the subscribe button. It does really help my tiny little baby channel. Now, sorry if you hear a little bit of noise in today's video. It is randomly sweltering in Seattle today, so I have to have the windows open or my makeup's gonna melt and I'm gonna melt. Today we are going to be demoing, reviewing, swatching, comparing the brand new Tarte Maneater Nightfall Palette. Now this just came out this morning. So as of this moment, the only place you can get this is Ulta. I did sprint to Ulta, get it, sprint back, and I'm filming this same day. And this palette is one that I was very excited about. Normally I'm not super excited about Tarte holiday releases. I feel like the sets are great, but then a lot of the palettes can be very hit or miss. However, last year they launched this guy. Here is the color story, and this one was called Afterdark. I love this palette. I was super impressed with the quality. The shimmers were amazing. The mattes blended beautifully. So when I saw the preview images of this one, I knew I was going to pick it up to give it a wear. So a little bit more about this palette. This palette retails for $52. It does have 24 shades, has a mixture of mattes and shimmers, and this is one of their holiday releases, which I don't quite know if the packaging is holiday-ish. It has their like weird little cheetah pattern that they have in all the Maneater palettes. And the color story, I don't know if it screams holiday, but I was very intrigued by the color story. So didn't really need anything to stop me. Now a little bit more about this palette. It retails for $52. It has 24 shades, a mixture of mattes and shimmers, and the pan sizes are really big. The mirror is really, really good. And something else I really like about it that I like to point out is I like that the mirror stands up on its own. So you can actually have it like at your vanity and be doing your eyeshadows without having to have one hand propping up the mirror so that it's not like flopping back and forth. So small details, but those small little details count. The way today's video is going to go is I am going to swatch the palette. I then will compare the swatches from the Nightfall palette to the Afterdark palette to see if there's any overlap. And then we're going to do a really easy eye look. And that will help us determine if this eyeshadow is an idiot-proof eyeshadow palette. I am someone who loves makeup and loves eyeshadow palettes, but I will be the first to admit that I am not advanced whatsoever when doing my eye look. So if I can make an eye look good, then you know this palette is idiot proof. So if all of that sounds interesting to you, please go ahead and keep on watching. I haven't touched the palette yet. I haven't swatched anything yet, but I want to start swatching live on camera so you can get my live reaction to some of these shades. I'm gonna have the camera rolling when I start doing swatches so you can get my live reaction to them. So I'm gonna go in with that first shade, Fascinate, and this is Fascinate. I mean, they do something crazy in these palettes for the metallics where they are like, ooh, so smooth, foiled, beautiful shimmer shades. Next, I'm going to swatch Sly, which is this shade here. This is a matte. Ooh, okay, that is so creamy. So far, so good. Ooh, I'm so excited. What I'm going to do now, because this is a big palette, I'm going to swatch row by row and then talk through the shades as I'm going through them on my arm, and then we'll get into those comparisons. I apologize, these swatches are kind of sloppy, but this is the top row of the palette. Going from left to right, we have Fascinate, Sly, Catnap, Mischief, Smolder, and this final shade we have is Alpha.
Now, my initial thoughts on the top row, these two shimmers were really pretty. This last one was weird. It's more of like a matte with glitter flecks, which I hate shadows like that. So I don't think I'll be enjoying that one. And then the other mattes were really nice and smooth. I think these two shades are going to be great transition shades for me. And now let's move on to row number 2. Now we are on row number 2 of the palette. Going from left to right, we have Desirable, and then we have Pamper, Frisky, Ferocious, Minx, and then the last shade we have is Tease. Now talking through the second row, I have to say the standout shade for me is this one here. This is a different formula than the other metallics. It is just a finely milled, beautiful, beautiful shimmer. It kind of reminds me of the Pat McGrath like special topper shades almost, if you know what I'm talking about. Other shades, nothing bad to say about them except for this last one. It was very dry, and as you can tell from the swatch, it got patchy and I had trouble swatching it, but this matte one I did not have a problem with. It's a little bit light, but honestly, I like to test out on the eyes before I make a judgment call. Now we are at row 3, which is the first of the more colorful rows. The first shade here is the shade Pounce. You can't even see it because it is non-existent. It has no pigment and was like drawing chalk on my arm, but chalk would have more pigment. So that shade is a no-go. Next shade here we have 9 Lives, followed by Nightfall, Intrigue, Wild, and Captivate. Captivate is another one of those weird matte sparkly shades that ColourPop sometimes does too, and I just don't know why they exist. We have come to the final row of the palette. Starting from the left again, we have Paws Off, Sizzle, Vixen, Passionate, Mysterious, and then After Dark. Really love this Paws Off matte shade. The metallics were beautiful. These ones were great. This last one, After Dark, it's swatched not the best. But again, swatches are not always representative of how they will wear on the eyes, but this is one where I immediately went, oh, yikes, I don't know about that one.
First impressions of the swatches, I'm very excited. There were a couple duds in there, or like from a swatch perspective duds, but that doesn't mean those shades are going to be terrible. It just means they didn't swatch the best. Now, before we get into the comparisons between the After Dark and the Nightfall palette, I did want to show the color stories side by side again, just so you can get a close-up. And I should mention that the one from last holiday, they marketed it as holiday, but I saw it available. I thought I saw it available at Ulta today, but maybe that was just the display for where the new one's gonna go. I'll do some research and leave a comment on the screen if the old one, the original one, is still available. But if you already own it, I thought it'd be helpful to show the side by side without hopefully blinding you. Okay, so I'm gonna pause here for a minute and let you just take a look at the two side by side. Obviously, the After Dark one has more of a like warm tone color story, whereas the Nightfall one is a little more cool tone with those purples and blues. Now for comparisons, I am going to do a few swatches, see what I find out, and then film any similar shades if they exist. Also, I am sweating profusely because it is a million degrees right now. I honestly might have to change my shirt. You know, no, I'm gonna power through it. I'm gonna power through it. Okay, talking through the shades. So I went ahead and tried to find similar-ish metallics in the palette, swatched them. Some of them ended up looking completely different, but I wanted to still leave them in. So starting from the left, we have the shade Minx in the Nightfall palette, swatch next to Heartbreaker from the After Dark palette. These are very similar. As you will be able to tell, they are nearly identical. Next, we have Mischief from Nightfall, followed by Nocturnal from After Dark. They looked like maybe they would be similar in the pan, but they're obviously completely different. Then we had Sizzle from Nightfall, followed by Feelin' Myself in After Dark. And then the final two we have is Desirable from Nightfall and then Sundown from After Dark. So as you can tell, only two shades are almost identical. The other ones are quite different. So that is great if you were really excited about the metallics and you already have the OG palette. You will not have overlapping metallic shades except for those ones that I pointed out. I'm not going to talk through all of the matte shades because there were tons of similar ones, but I would say the two most noticeable ones that I am convinced are actually the same exact shades are Moody from Nightfall and Vixen from After Dark, and then Smolder from Nightfall, and Mischievous from After Dark. Now we get to the fun or potentially disastrous part of the video where I try these shades on my eyes. Now I already have my eyes primed with Urban Decay Anti-Aging Primer Potion. I did that before I started filming. Now I'm debating what kind of eye look I'm going to do, but I think I'm going to do more of like an everyday with a little pop of shimmer look. If you want to see a review of this using a lot of fun shadows and doing really creative eye looks, then you will definitely want to check out Heather Austin posted her video today. She's a great YouTuber doing some fun colorful looks. And then Steph's Beauty Stash also posted. I will leave links down below. They are incredible artists when it comes to eyeshadows, and they are going to be the ones who are going to be able to show you like really creative, cool looks. I'm pretty basic, so I'm going to take a lot of the basic colors, but still do like a pop of fun with maybe a couple of the colors and then some of the shimmers for sure. Ooh, we are going through some trials and tribulations during this. It's so hot that my camera overheated and I couldn't film. So I tried filming an eye look on my iPhone, and I was just way too ambitious with the eye look because, as I mentioned, and I've mentioned many times, I'm not the best with eyeshadow. So we're gonna start the eye look again. I removed the other look because it looked like a toddler got into their mother's makeup and tried to do a purple eye look. So we're not going to try to do that again. We are just going to be honest with our limitations and embrace the fact that eyeshadow is something we are still not good at, despite being on this earth for 32 years. So we are going to try this again. So here we go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to apply the shade Sly all over my lid. Little bit of kickback, but that's okay. Especially for a shade like this. I don't really care if this has a little kickback and I get a little bit on my cheek, which I'm actually not, which is surprising. I'm now going to go in to my crease with that same color. I'm going to clean off my brush, go in with that same color, and just work Sly into the crease as well while we're contemplating what look we are going to do. So we are taking the Zoeva Luxe Soft Crease brush, just working that in. I really like this Sly shade. It is a very, very good all over lid transition type of shade. Now, what do we want to do? I don't want to do something like so basic. Well, yeah, because I'm a basic bee, especially when it comes to my eyeshadows. I am going to do something pretty basic, but then we're going to add a lot of the shimmers and metallics. So this is going to be like a very wearable look. I'm going to go in with the shade Ferocious, just working that into the crease. Ooh, that blended really nicely. Okay, wow. That blended beautifully. Well, I mean, I barely had to blend. I will go back and do some blending, but very, very idiot proof. Okay. Really liking that. Honestly, if you wanted to for an everyday look, you could stop there. Like, I could stop there, throw on mascara, and be good to go, but we're gonna keep going. I am now gonna blend out the shadows more using one of my favorite blending brushes, which is this bad boy from Laura Lee. It is the Laura Lee L36. It is a giant blender. So I am going to blend, 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 and that is going to help give that crease more of a diffused, natural look. Just doing windshield wiper motions. She's looking pretty good. Now for what's next. What do I want to do? What do I want to do? Ooh, there are a couple routes we could go. I think I want to work Smolder into the outer crease because I love like those reddish shades. They really make my blue eyes pop. And then I think I'm going to bring that down under my eye, almost like as a liner. And then we'll finish off with metallic. So let's do that. I am going to use a more precise brush for that. Let's use the BK Beauty 207 brush, which is this guy. It is a like domed brush. And we are going to take Smolder and then just carefully just apply a little bit. And we will go back and blend, but I'm going to apply to the other eye as well. I need a little more to match. Now let's blend. We're going to go back in again with the Zoeva Soft Definer. This I'm calling like a pumpkin spice latte look. A time to watch Gilmore Girls look. Okay, these are blending really nicely. These are, dare I say, idiot-proof mattes. I think that's very pretty and wearable. I am going to get a liner brush now. Let's use the detail pencil, which is the Samantha Ravindal Sigma collab. Go in with Smolder and then just carry her here. I forgot to set my concealer and I'm sweating like crazy, so a little bit of creasing on my under eye. That is completely independent from the eyeshadow. Just wanted to mention. Ooh. See how my like blue eyes are popping? A like burnt orange or any sort of red is really gonna make your eyes do that. Okay, I think we're done with the mattes for now. Let's go in with the shimmers. Ooh, I'm debating what I'm going to do because they all look so pretty. I think I'm gonna go in with Sizzle, which is this guy right here. I'm gonna go in with my finger and where am I gonna apply it? I think I'm just gonna start on the inner corner and work my way out. Okay, that's pretty. That one is nothing mind-blowing, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's pretty, but nothing crazy. I think maybe we should go over it again with one that has a little bit more pizzazz. That is very pretty though, but it's more of just like a pretty like glitter shade, nothing that special. I mean, this could end up ruining the look because layering these might not go well, but we're gonna give it a try. We are gonna actually go over that with, ooh, let's do one of the special shades that I mentioned kind of remind me of a Pat McGrath shade. Let's go in with this shade here, which is Desirable. Ooh. I mean, are you kidding me? That is incredible. Wow, okay, that's really pretty. Okay, I'm gonna like clean this up, add mascara, clean up the fallout, and then we'll be back to talk about the palette. If you stuck with me to the very end, thank you. The camera overheated again. I am melting. We are gonna film this on the iPhone, again, Blair Witch style. Now at least I can like take you in to show you the final look. I mean, I'm bad at blending, but this is doable. Like, if I went out in public, I don't think I'd be laughed at with this eye look. So for me, that's where the bar is. I overall thought the palette was pretty easy to work with. The mattes were really blendable. The metallics were buildable. I actually went back in with another metallic shade and kind of built up over the original one because I wanted to give it a little bit more shimmer. And I think the palette is really pretty. The quality is great. It is on par with the first Maneater palette from Tarte. I think you just have to decide which color story you like. If you already have the original and the new color story isn't speaking to you, don't get it. Don't get it. There are enough dupable shades in the OG with the new one that you don't need both if the color story is not speaking to you. Now, if you missed out on the first one and you're really interested in trying these formulas and the color story is speaking to you, oh, there's a loud bird.
I recommend picking it up. It is $52, which is on the pricier side for Tarte, but you do get a nice variety of shades, finishes, etc. I don't think this is like a must have. Like, if I hadn't have picked it up, I would have been totally fine because I already have the original one. But if you are interested, I do recommend picking it up. I think it's a good solid quality holiday release from Tarte, and I'm very intrigued to see if they continue to release this format every single year or what the deal is. So thank you so much for sticking through this tumultuous 100-degree technology issue ridden video. I do appreciate it. If you do decide to pick this up, I'd appreciate if you shop my affiliate link down below. It does help support my channel, and hopefully I will catch you in my next video.